Well, yesterday's videos have been uploaded, and I come on today to record this third part of the series. We've already gotten most of the work done to this little French Bulldog, but I will tell you there's a few little saw marks on the back of the head and the ears. We need to try to take on those and get rid of those little lines as well and make it so it's going to be the work it needs to come out to be, and then finally get it so it's straight and narrow, and finally to where we see the lines all come in place just as the best that they ought to be. I say one little work of a job can lead to another and come to this. So it comes to the point where now we are going to go to the underside and the insides of the legs. I think we will just take a little bit of wood here off the side of the belly and kind of work the rest of the way down here to make the rest of the thing, and then make it so it's going to look the way it should when we get the whole thing done, and finally come down to where we've done this much. And then we're going to try to kind of take away a little wood from inside the hind leg. And that's another thing. When we were kids in our family, we didn't always understand that humans don't have hind legs. Humans just have arms and legs. I once knew a little kid who called the legs of a human hind legs. But I tell y'all, it's kind of a little strange. Little world. One thing said after another. Did this one a little bit different, where I kind of did the underside and the inside of the leg for the very same little moment here. Kind of got to cut away at that a little bit, make it so we're going to come down and see what it's going to end up being when we get a little more done here. I say that as for this other front leg, we're going to chip away what's left of the wood there and see how a little work can make a good little thing come out, to where we work with it always and make it so it seems like it's a little work to be done in and of itself, and make it so we're going to kind of work our way about it. I say there's been times in my life where there's been little places I've been and places I've missed and places that have been hard to come back around to, and I wanted to tell y'all just a little bit more about that today. It's kind of like how it is in places where kids get kind of chilly and chatty, and I'm kind of an old man and kind of have to take what I can take for when I can take it. But I was at the pool last night, and a little girl was there with her daddy. Her her daddy and I just started having a random conversation, just as strangers, asking me if we were friends, and said, well, technically and he said, well, technically we are now, because we've talked, and so it's just a lot of questions she has for things in life, and all the good things we know about in life, and how things work for us. I'll tell you all that there's going to be so much more to learn as we get further on in our lives, and then we're going to see what's all going to be said and done in the future. We know one thing, that Jesus is the answer. He's the answer to everything. Always comes around now. So I say, for a little tip, we're going to try to, well, I'd say maybe just do a little something in here. Try to get rid of little places where the lines are showing a little too much, and probably try to get past where we make those little traces and cuts in the wood, and see how little pups can make themselves be of great cheer and mercy. Sometimes they use them as therapy dogs, like in nursing homes and stuff, and that's probably just a good use for them. And I've seen service dogs in places. There's been a lot of dogs out there I've wanted to pet, but they often have little signs and shirts on them that say, "Do not pet me, I am a service dog." Because sometimes it might be with a kid with diabetes or something like that, where they kind of put those little signs upon them just to tell you those things. And I say that it's just a little statement of truth and all, and how it all comes down to being what it all needs to really be and stuff. And I'd say that even been times in my life that there's been some dogs I've known that you haven't. And so I've seen how they put little shoes on their paws to keep their paws from getting too hot on the concrete so that they can work. And, you know, I tell you, I was probably one of those kids, even though I was disabled and special needs, didn't really need a service dog. Probably would have been too scared of them anyway. You know, as a kid, I kind of was afraid of dogs, and there were just a lot of reasons why. I mean, you know, probably because there were only two dogs that I knew in my very early childhood. They were ones I was told to stay away from. It was a little Yorkie that my great-grandmother and great-aunt had, and a little Doberman that lived next door to my grandmother's house, and both were just dogs we were told not to play with, because those two particular dogs were just not the nicest ones you'd ever meet. I say that now we're finally going to draw this line here, make it so it's going to come this way, and I say with one little line to come in here, make another line here, put another line back here, and I'd say that it's going to be hard to draw a line between these two hind legs the way they're curved up so much, but we'll draw a line for right behind the hind legs to make another little place. And then we're going to kind of start to make this little type of V cut with the little gouge back here into the legs, make it so he's going to be a rough and tough puff. I mean, I tell you, my niece had on a little ballerina dress the other day and a little shirt that came with the tutu that said, I forget what it was, but it said something like dogs rule or something like that. Didn't know exactly who those dogs were, but I heard it had to do with a cartoon called Paw Patrol. See, I'm not all that familiar with all the new cartoons these days because I don't really have kids of my own, so don't have much need to watch them, but I'd say, it's just one of those things I sort of learned from her, you know, how they use all these different kinds of dogs on the police force, like German Shepherds and things like that. It hadn't been that long ago that I carved some German Shepherds and even sold them to a couple of ladies who own a German Shepherd rescue out in Somerset. So we've got a couple little more cuts to make. I think we're going to make this one for the muzzle of the mouth here, and probably even make a line to come up into the middle of the nose where we are going to have to put in the little place for the nose there, and where we kind of burned that line in on other dogs, we're just going to carve it in on this one. This one probably has a little bit more of a flexible snout than the retriever did, which was the one like this that we carved before. And then there's just little places where we carve along here on the inside to make the muzzle a little bit more curved, like a French Bulldog has. And finally just make it so it's going to have its own good little way of coming out. Make it so we see little things as good as they need to be. And then finally kind of carve away the sides of the muzzle that are in front of the face to try to make it so it comes out with the dimension it's supposed to have, and probably work away at the face up here. And then we can take this rotary tool here, and there's probably more than one bit you use to do this, but we're going to take this little bit and use it to put in the little nose. This is what it'll come down to here. Probably could have made the nose a little better, but try to make it so it's going to and then come down to where we make it a little darker in there. And finally we'll just add the eyes in just like this. Perhaps there will be a moment when we will demonstrate how we kind of add the detail to the ears with the wood burner. But for the last step in this video, we are going to do a final little thing wherever I put that other bit that I had. It's going to be used to make the eyes here, and finally just put the work right in. And here is how little Frenchie gets finished out. There's probably some work to come along here later, but we'll be taking care of that. Might as well just kind of get a little bit of this away. Try to make its muzzle a little more curved so it can kind of see the little things it needs to see here. And then there's just going to come the time when we're going to add a little bit more, but we probably spent a little bit too much time already for this video, so let's kind of put it to rest and wait for this to upload. Thank you for watching.